We're getting to that time of the format where banlist predictions are everywhere, and I think this is a great time to make one. Format is so diverse, anyone can really take the crown despite Kashtira having the highest representation. So I think it'll be really interesting to break down and maybe figure out and analyze what cards should be hit on the ban list, but also what cards should come back to make this meta a true free-for-all. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe so the YouTube algorithm sees us. Then let's get into the video. So here are the 5 cards that I want changed from the ban list. We have Samsung Access coming out quite soon. It's a pack I've been anticipating for quite a while. And if that being said, let's get into the banlist predictions. First up on the list is the branded deck. Now, you could also say the deck has great potential, but the problem is when you have potential for too long, it suddenly expires, and we saw that in the YCSs. Both of that happened recently. The representation was not that high, and maybe what was the cause for the branded deck to drop when a meta changes and adapts to the branded strategy. I think we can see that with the pure representation. So for that reason, I don't know how hard we should hit branded fusion. In my opinion, has to go to 1 or 2. I think 1 might be a bit crazy because the structure deck did so quite a lot. It also got an unlimited wave with the Beast of Despair and branded Lulu Wilif. I think it's time that the branded deck does take a hit. That said, if we're going to talk about branded hits, the first one that has to go after fusion, or maybe even before fusion, the branded Expulsion. So I did a poll recently on my channel, and the results, in my opinion, felt quite interesting. I didn't expect Expulsion to be so high on the list. I expected Give Me a Puppet Nightmare to be the highest. The branded Expulsion trap card allows for really broken and honestly just not fun and creative ways to play Yu-Gi-Oh, and they banned Scythe for that reason. So I can see branded Expulsion actually being removed from the game with the new branded fusion, the Incandescent Dragon. It does the same thing, so I can see them actually hitting Expulsion. I know the TCG banlist likes to have a bit of a flair to it, so I could see hit for that reason. But yeah, I do think, in my opinion, Nightmare should go. But what does that mean for Disciple and Christia? I don't know. I just don't like how Nightmare has a lingering effect. Again, very similar to the Artifact Scythe. It's almost like a Scooby-Doo thing happened and you take off the mask and it's actually Artifact Scythe. I'm not gonna make a hard decision here, but I do think branded fusion should be hit. Maybe Aluba, just to have the consistency if they are moving to a single strategy, and then of course hitting the branded Expulsion or the targets. This is probably one of the most difficult archetypes to consider because the archetype is so fresh out of the booster pack. You can still smell the freshness of the cards. I want to put Fenrir on here, but then I can't put Fenrir on here because he's an ultimate rare OTS card. It's very strange, but maybe Unicorn is the one to get hit first. I could see a semi-limit for Unicorn coming. Being the Unicorn is a nice hit, but more importantly, let's hit the cards around the Kashtira strategy. Number 89, Diablosis, is probably the easiest hit for Kashtira, and I think a little bit advocating for it. I can see Diablosis being hit. It'll be really sad if Diablosis got hit, but I can totally empathize with that. I think the card is a little bit crazy. The modern Yu-Gi-Oh metagame is so fast-paced, so updated with just crazy effects that make things go really fast. Maybe being hit to a semi-limit, and to me that seems very realistic because it also hurts the strategy of the Kashtira deck. And when a strategy is so powerful, but sometimes its weakness is the consistency, that's where I can see a fair, I guess, power shift between how the deck plays in the future if Prosperity gets hit. But I would like to see it to 1. That's my hot take, guys.
What did you just say?
Don't flame in the comments. I would like to see it to 1. I think it will hit a lot of decks in the game and it will force some more deck building creativity, which is always nice to see. Master Duel hit Runick cards. The Fountain is at 2. Runick Tip is at 2. I can see Fountain being hit to 1 if the TCG really wants to go at it, but if they're reprinting Tactical Monsters in the Megatin, it seems a bit weird for Runick Fountain to actually be hit. And that kind of segues nicely into my next discussion, which is what cards are going to come off the meta ban list. Now, I'm a big advocate for just letting the city go to purge because it's just fun to see it, and I'd like to see almost a reply from the community. Dig out cards that were banned and then dig out archetypes that were banned and suddenly they're playable again. So with that being said, Zodiac Dryden, it will be really nice to see that come back. And with the hit to Diablosis, I would love to see Zeus being put to 1. So some other great cards from the YCS surge in popularity and usage. Kurikara Divine Incarnate is a really fun one, and I can see cards like Masterpiece coming off the ban list, and maybe the Thunder and Colossus coming back. I could definitely see Kurikara being a really cool card in the meta game, and I think Konami likes to introduce new waves of staple cards, and I can see that potentially being an idea. We just got Ancient Fairy taken off the ban list. I can see some Pendulum cards being slowly taken off. One of the easiest ways to really figure out what's happening in the next ban list is just checking out the next wave of products. We're getting a huge burst of the Synchro archetypes. Synchro cards coming back. Duelist Nexus. We just got Glow Bulb off the ban list in the OCG and Steam the Cloak. So why can't we get that in the TCG? I know Hulk is banned. I know the Union Carrier is banned. So it might be time for these Synchro cards to actually come off the ban list. I think that's a really obvious thing we can maybe see happening. Master will get something here first, then the OCG ban list follows. Maybe the TCG will start taking notes as well. We can also potentially see Runick being hit, but again, with the wave of it coming out in the Megatins, I don't see it happening too. I do think these Spright cards, maybe Spright Star, maybe Spright Blue, should be semi-limited or limited, because Spright is really infecting a lot of archetypes in a good way. That just means the deck is so potent without Spright Elf, their boss monster, and I think that's a good enough reason. And we've had the archetype for enough time now where I think I can see Konami considering them for a hit on the ban list. Spright Blue did get the ultimate rare treatment in OTS 21, so I don't think it's going to be banned, but I could see it being semi-limited. Maybe Spright Star takes the hit first, which makes a lot of sense to me personally, because they do have gigantic Spright as well. We've seen the wind one come back and nothing has happened to the game, and to be honest, Galaxy Tomahawk is banned for us, so I don't see how crazy the application could be for them. And maybe in this modern, fast-paced meta game that's totally different, they might never make an impact at all. So I'd love to see some of the Dragon Rulers come back. I think that'd be a lot of fun and would definitely spice up some archetypes that are maybe not as good at the moment, but will definitely enjoy that boost from the Dragon Rulers. With the potential Dimension Shifter coming back in the main deck because of new archetypes coming out in types of access, I can really see Orcus Harp Horror coming off the ban list. This card reads: you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon Orcus monster from your deck except Harp Horror, and that's pretty much all it does. But the card is so powerful that back then they had to ban it, but now it might be time to brush the dust off of the Harp and get it back off the ban list. I think with the rising popularity of the Floodgate decks, the Trap decks, I would personally love to see Red Ruby come back to 1.
As much as I hate to admit it, he's on to something there.
But that might seem a bit cynical. Instead, I would love to see more back row come back to the game. I'm curious how crazy the game will be if Heavy Storm is back in it. I just love the card. It's very nostalgic for me. And with Feather Duster in the game, maybe Heavy Storm can come back. Maybe it's time for Pot of Desires to also come off the ban list at 3 if we're going to hit Pot of Prosperity. I think that'll be an interesting dynamic, and I can see some decks actually enjoying that. But at the same time, it was actually very controversial how many copies you should run. So for that reason, I'd love to see Pot of Desires go to 3. And there we go, guys. That's been my ban list predictions for the current format. We are approaching a new booster pack, so for that reason, I think this ban list might happen soon. And that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.